All right, mic check. Let's go ahead and knock out this lesson real quick. Or I should say this unit review. Right here we got three formulas. We got three equations right here. One is in standard form. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. One is in factored form. Y equals a x minus p times x minus q. And one is in vertex form. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And the piece of information that we're looking for is the y-intercept. It says find the y-intercept. So when you have standard form, the y-intercept is your c value. C is the y-intercept. So in this problem here, the y-intercept is equal to 30. It's right there. Whatever your c value is, that's what your y-intercept is. Now, in factored form, you don't have a c. You got a, p, and q. So what you're going to have to do is multiply these two together and then distribute a in order to find your c value. So let's get at a shot. First thing we'll do is multiply x times x, because we're focused on just this piece right here. We got x times x, which is x squared, and then on the back end you got 5 times negative 3, which is negative 15. How do we get the middle term? We talk about this time and time again. You take this 5 and you add it with this negative 3. Remember, these two numbers, they add up together to get your middle term, which is going to be positive 2x. Easy money. Now what we're going to do is bring down the negative 2 out front. Everybody gets multiplied by negative 2, which is negative 2x squared minus 4x plus 30. See how we did that? And voila, look at it. All the way on the back end, this is called a y-intercept. We did it. So remember the trick. The trick is to multiply the x's to get x squared, multiply the numbers to get that back term right there, negative 15. Then we add these two numbers together to get the middle term. Don't forget to put your x on there. Then we distribute the a value to everyone, and it takes us to standard form. And now over here for vertex form, we'll start here. We'll start here to rewrite. Squared means multiply to itself, which puts us x times x, x squared, 1 times 1. That's a positive 1. And for the middle term, we're going to do 1 plus 1. The middle term is when you add the two numbers together. That's how we get positive 2 and put an x on that term. Our very next step, we're going to take this negative 2 and bring it down, meaning everybody gets multiplied by negative 2. Negative 2x squared. That'll be negative 4x. Last one, that would be negative 2. And then for the very last step, we're going to bring down the plus 32 and combine like terms. 32 minus 32 minus 2 is positive 30. This is how you change vertex form into standard form. And guess who's all the way on the back end? Your y-intercept. So imagine these three problems are exactly the same. These three problems are exactly the same. They just were in different forms, but once you change them all to standard form, you can see that they are all equal. Negative 2x squared minus 4x plus 30. Negative 2x squared minus 4x plus 30. Negative 2x squared minus 4x plus 30. Easy money. Move on to number 2. Number 2, you got vertex form right here, which tells you h and k. And we can find h right here and k here. H is always telling a lie. K is always telling the truth. So we do have a vertex at 2, 8. Not negative 2, 8, but positive 2, 8. And if you go over to the table right here, look who you got. You got 2 duplicates. And in between your duplicates, you should have a vertex. Easy money. So here we go. What do we have? We have a vertex. If we have a vertex, we will be able to find our y-intercept. And y-intercept on the graph is going to be, let's change that color. Change it to green. Your y-intercept is going to be right here. In the table, if you have a x value that is 0, your y-intercept is positive 9. And I can work that out for you in a little bit. Also, if you have a vertex, you have an x-axis symmetry. X equals 2. Whether this is increasing or decreasing or not, we'll know that by the a value, which we have up here. This is the a value. Positive and negative, yep, we know that much based on the a value. So we have everything on here except for x-intercepts. We got everything except x-intercepts. And you'll get x-intercepts from, that will come from factored form, which is going to be that guy right there. So, safe to say we have everything. Now, one thing I said I was going to work for you was changing this to standard form. We'll take these two right here. X minus 2 times x minus 2. That's going to give you x squared. 2 times 2 is positive 4. And then we're going to add the negative 2's together to get negative 4x. Drop down to 1/4 in front. That means everybody's getting multiplied by 1 and divided by 4. So that's going to be 1/4 x squared. 4 times 1 divided by 4 would be negative 1x. Same thing with this one, be a positive 1. And the last step is to bring down the plus 8. I told you, y-intercept was right here. At positive 9, guess what 1 plus 8 is? It's 9. Any form that you have, you should be able to find your y-intercept by changing it to standard form. Moving on. Right here, this problem is factored form, which tells us y equals x minus p x minus q. So this value right here for 9 is p. which is an x-intercept. And what that gives us is P. One of my x-intercepts is a positive 9. As you can see, negative P, negative 9. That means P is equal to 9. Right here, opposites. Your Q is going to be a negative 12. So these are called x-intercepts. And just like with vertex form, they're going to be the opposites on the inside. Well, this is factor form. Right here we got vertex form. Y equals a x minus 5 squared minus 8. And for the vertex, remember, opposite, same. Opposite, same. So your key feature here is going to be the vertex. And always your A value. And the vertex is going to be 5, negative 8. And the A value is 1. Same thing up here. A is equal to 1. Moving on. Rewrite the equation in factored form. Should be a piece of cake. But the first thing we got to do is get rid of this negative sign up front. Let's divide everybody by negative 1. And that's going to create a new problem for us. You end up with x squared minus 11x plus 28. Now with this information here, we can do our x situation. Look for two numbers that multiply to 28, add up to negative 11. That's going to be negative 4 and negative 7. So for my final answer, in the parentheses, we got x minus 4 and x minus 7. Still got the negative 1 out front as our A value. This is how it would look. Can't forget how to play this game right here with two numbers. Negative 4 and negative 7. In order to factor this thing out. Again, these special two numbers, if I ever want to change them to standard form, I'm going to add them together to get my middle term. I'm going to multiply them together to get my last term. That's going to help us move into this next problem here. Focusing on these two, you got x times x, which is x squared. Then you got negative 1 times 9, which is negative 9. To find the middle term, you're going to add these two numbers together. Negative 1 plus 9, which is positive 8x. Now I'll drop down that negative 2. Negative 2x squared minus 16x plus 18. Easy money. For number 6 right here, we're going to be finding A, given that we have standard form. Well, no, this is factored form. So A, x minus P, x minus Q. This guy is P, this guy is Q. So that's going to change to... Oh, no, let's not make the change yet. And don't forget, any point that you get is an x and a y. So he's x and he's y. So y is 6. X is negative 2. A, we don't know. P is 1. See, it's a positive 1 here, so we write negative 1. 4 is a positive 4, so we write negative 4. And then we solve. Negative 3. Negative 6. That's going to be 18a. Divide by 18 on both sides. 1 over 3. That's called simplifying. So for my final answer, I have y equals 1/3 x minus 1 x minus 4. Remember, for factored form, all you're going to need to substitute is a, p, and q. You do not need to plug in anything for x and y. Okay, remember, x and y is only used to test the point out to find your a value. Final answer is going to be right here. Same way this guy was set up for number 5. All right, got a couple more to do, and then we can get ready to take this test. Identify the vertex, easy money. It's all the way down here at the bottom, 0, -2. This point right here is a special point called the x-intercept, aka the root, aka the 0. This guy up here is the random point, and all points are written as x comma y. So 2, 6. Now, first thing we're going to do is write this in vertex form, which does require that you identify the a value. I've showed you this plenty of times. How do we get an a value? You travel to your next door neighbor, all right? That's up 2 over 1. Your a value is 2 over 1, which is 2. So for vertex form, y equals 2 x plus or minus 0. Remember, we got to take the opposite of this value, put it here. There's no opposite for 0. And then we take the -2, put it on the back end. Okay? And in the math world, this is tacky. You can't write this. So they would change it to y equals 2x squared minus 2, which just so happens to be standard form. That's how it works. So there's your 2 answers. Again, vertex, H and K, they go right here. Should have this in your notes somewhere. This is H, and this is K. This is X, this is Y. All right. Now we could have used that little crazy setup to find this value, but because they have a graph, we can count to find our a value. Our a value is always going to be our distance to our next door neighbor, all the time. All right, we got two more to knock out. Looking at the table here, I'm looking for duplicates. Here we go. Right here, I got duplicates. Dead giveaway, my vertex is here. Vertex is 3, -2. Now, to put this in vertex form, we do need an a value. How do I find my a value? I go to my vertex and travel to my next door neighbor. What is the distance from -2 to 3? What is the distance from -2 to 3? That is going to be +5. If you don't know that, you need to work on your addition and subtraction skills. -2 plus 5 equals 3. And that's how you go from vertex to next door neighbor. A value is equal to 3. So with this piece of information, what I have, got my a value and I got my vertex. Let's write this in vertex form. Y equals 3 x minus 3 squared minus 2. As you can see, 3 goes in as -3, -2 is written as -2. He's always lying. Now let's do the work necessary to change this to standard form. Let's start here. X times x, x squared, negative 3 times negative 3, positive 9. How do we get that middle number? Add these two numbers together. Negative 3 is negative 6. Put the x on there. Drop down this 3 in front and distribute. Drop down this minus 2 on the back end, and we will get positive 25. If you see any mistakes, let me know. Correct me in class. And we move on. Got our word problem here. Our vertex, we're looking for max info, okay? And down here, we just need some point in time, just some random point in time. And when we get this stuff, this is H, and this is K, this is X, and this is Y, okay? I want you to remember that so we can work vertex form. They give us a vertex, so we should work vertex form. And we'll have to find A. That's going to be decent work, but not hard. So organizers of a music festival charge $60 for admission. The organizers poll the attendees to determine how increasing the price would affect attendance and therefore affect profit. They discovered that if they reduce the price by $1, their profits would be maximized at $600,000. So tickets are $60. If they drop the price to $59, it will produce a profit of $60,000. Okay, well, $600,000. This is going to be our max vertex. However, if they raise the price $1, which is $61, it would produce a profit of $560,000. So this guy right here represents my max vertex. Visually, that looks like this. $59. $59 for the ticket. It's gonna produce this profit right here. $61 for the ticket. It's gonna produce a max profit of $56,000. So cool. As long as I got these points here, I can work vertex form, which is y equals a, which we don't know, x minus h, which is 59 squared, plus k, which is 600,000. If I want to find my a value, then I got to plug in x and y. So we put 61 here. And then we put 56,000 here. And this is going to help us solve for a. So right here, that's going to be 2 squared times a, which is 4a. We're going to subtract 600,000 on both sides. Yeah, it's a lot of work, I know. You end up with 4a. And over here, you end up with 40,000. Divide by 4 on both sides, you get 10,000 for your a value. So the equation ends up being y equals, oh, it's supposed to be negative 2, my bad. Negative 10,000 x minus 59 squared plus 600,000. This would be your vertex form of the equation. And then to change that to standard form, Same little trick that I'm going to leave you to do, all right? That completes the lesson. I mean the review. Good luck on your test today. And keep your notes. It is an open notes assessment so that you can do the best that you can, not all by yourself, but with some guidance.